Turn off the lights in your room right now and something quietly shifts. A part of you, older than language, goes on alert. Your heartbeat ticks up. Your ears strain. Your eyes hunt for shapes in the black. And without deciding to, you begin to feel watched. Nothing in the room actually changed. The furniture, the space, the danger are all the same. Only the light is gone. We like to call this fear childish, a phase you simply grow out of. But you never fully do. And the reason reaches back hundreds of thousands of years. Almost everyone feels it. Around half of all children are openly afraid of the dark. And a surprising number of adults quietly still are. It appears in every culture, on every continent, in every century of recorded history. The monsters change. Demons, ghosts, witches, aliens. But the fear underneath is always the same. The dark itself. A fear this universal, this consistent, is almost never a random quirk. It is almost always a message, left for us by the people we came from. To read that message, you have to let go of something we take for granted. Today, we sit comfortably at the top of the food chain. For most of our history, we did not. We were prey. In 2005, anthropologists Donna Hart and Robert Sussman gathered the evidence into a book called Man the Hunted. Their conclusion was unsettling. For millions of years, our ancestors were the hunted, not the hunters. They were stalked by leopards, cave hyenas, saber-toothed cats, and enormous birds of prey. One famous early human child's skull still carries the puncture marks of an eagle's talons, and nearly every one of these predators shared a single devastating advantage. They could see in the dark. We could not. Our eyes, built for the bright African day, turned almost useless at night. So when the sun dropped below the horizon, the world quietly changed owners. The daytime belonged to us. The night belonged to them. And in that darkness, a human was little more than a slow, soft, half-blind meal. Try to imagine it. No fire, no walls, no door to lock. The total black of a moonless night, pressing in from every side. A twig snaps somewhere to your left. A pair of eyes catches the starlight, then disappears. A low sound rolls across the grass, and you can't tell how close it is. For you, this is the stuff of nightmares. For your ancestors, it was simply the sound of an ordinary night. And far too often, it was the last sound a person ever heard. Surviving until sunrise was never a guarantee. It was a small victory, won over and over for hundreds of thousands of years. And this is exactly where the fear was born. Picture two early humans at the edge of the firelight. One feels a prickle of dread in the dark and pulls back toward the flames. The other feels nothing, shrugs, and wanders off into the black to sleep. Which one is more likely to see the morning? The nervous one, almost every time. The calm, the curious, the careless were quietly removed from the human story. The anxious and the watchful survived. And they had children. And those children inherited that same flicker of fear. Night after night, the darkness itself was quietly selecting for caution. So fear of the dark was never a weakness. It was one of the most successful survival tools our species ever built. And there was only one thing that could push the darkness back: fire. A campfire did far more than cook food and give warmth. It carved a small circle of light out of an ocean of black. Inside that circle, you could see a threat coming. Outside it, you were blind. So humans gathered around the flames after dark and almost never left them. To step beyond the firelight at night was to step straight back into the food chain. And some part of you still feels that same pull toward light whenever the dark closes in. That ancient program was never deleted. It is still running, quietly, inside your head right now. Deep in your brain sits a small, almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. It is your threat detection center, the alarm that screams danger before you can even think. And here is the part that should give you chills. Research published in the journal PLOS ONE found that light itself physically calms the amygdala. Bright light strengthens the link between that alarm and the rational thinking part of your brain. In daylight, your reason keeps the primal alarm on a tight leash. But in darkness, that connection weakens. The amygdala runs hotter, and your rational mind loses its grip. This is why a thought that feels silly at noon can feel genuinely terrifying at 3 in the morning. Your body even releases more of the stress hormone cortisol once the lights go out. Nothing about the real danger has changed, only the light has. In 2012, researchers in Toronto studied what actually happens when we sit in the dark. They found it usually isn't dramatic, screaming panic. It's something quieter, a low, lingering, constant unease. A feeling of being slightly on edge, hyper-aware of every small sound. And that is exactly the state a hunted animal needs in order to stay alive. Your body is not broken, and it is not overreacting in the dark. It is doing precisely the job it was built to do across a million years. Scanning, listening, waiting for the thing that used to be out there. This also explains why the fear so often arrives in early childhood. Somewhere around the age of 2 to 4, a child's imagination switches fully on. For the first time, they can vividly picture a monster, but they can't yet tell the difference between what is possible and what is real. So the darkness under the bed fills with whatever their mind can invent, and no amount of "there's nothing there" ever quite convinces them. Because on some deep level, they aren't entirely wrong. They aren't being silly, and they aren't being weak. They're running the very same ancient program you are, just with the volume turned all the way up. And here is what almost no one likes to admit out loud. You never completely grow out of it either. You just get better at talking yourself back down. But the instinct stays, humming quietly beneath your adult confidence. It's why you still take a dark staircase a little faster than you really need to. Why a part of you relaxes the very instant the light comes on. Twin studies even suggest this tendency is partly written into your genes. You did not learn to fear the dark. You inherited it from a long line of survivors. But here is the part that flips the whole story upside down. For almost our entire existence, we were the ones hiding from the night. And then, slowly, everything reversed. We mastered fire. We built walls and doors. We sharpened weapons. And finally, we flooded the entire planet with artificial light. We became, by far, the most dangerous thing in the dark. A study in the journal Science found that animals across the world are now turning nocturnal, slipping into the night just to avoid us. The leopards and big cats that once ruled the darkness now hide inside it, because of us. And yet, after all of it, the fire, the walls, the cities of light, the old fear still flickers. Turn off every light, and that 300,000-year-old alarm wakes right back up. It doesn't care that your doors are locked or that you're the apex predator now. It only remembers a time when the dark was full of things that wanted to eat you. So the next time your skin prickles in a dark, empty room, don't feel foolish. That fear is not a malfunction. It's an inheritance, a gift from every ancestor who was frightened enough of the dark to survive the night, so that one day you could be here.